Hey guys, Bob back coming to you, and today we're going to talk about something that is a little different. It's talked about in different forums, it's talked about in different places, and that is the fact that the turn signals are red, and I have actually replaced these tail lamps and I have programmed them and they now blink orange, which you're going to see in the end of the video. Nonetheless, there's some work involved to get this to actually happen. If you are technically inclined, stay tuned. This is the video for you. If you don't go much past using a screwdriver, then this is probably not the video for you. You might want to contract this out to someone, show them this video, that it can be done. Nonetheless, you don't want to get into this if you don't have some fairly decent skills. So with that being said, I'm going to get into it. I'm not going to go into great details about things. The premise is that you know how to do some of the things I'm about to talk about. So let's get to it. Alright, so as I was saying, so the trim here is off. This trim has to pop off. They're fairly simple to pop off, but you have to be careful. Sometimes you have clips that look like this. In this case, I had to slide the piece up a little bit and then pop it out. So I'm going to pop this out and put it on so I can just pop it straight back in. And there, right there, is the BDC. And the plug I need to get to is that last one back there. And it's a bare how they placed it. So I'm going to pull it out and run my two wires. And then I'm going to run them along the bottom, through the bottom here. And hopefully it'll be good. Thirdly, this will at least need to be clipped out in the bottom area so you can get the wiring underneath. Fourth, back here, you'll need to pull this trim. This trim right here will need to come out. The seat, it's best to pop it out. If you don't know how to do that, it just simply pops up. So you got to give it a good pull and it pops up and out. So seat needs to come out. This trim needs to come out. There is a little nut, a plastic nut that holds it. So you won't get this out without taking that plastic nut out, which means seat out. So next would be this trim right here. This little black plastic trim before you actually get to the seat. This actually just pops right out after you've taken that step. So let's go to the trunk. So for the inside lamps, you will need to remove this plastic right here. And so I'm going to assume you know how to use the correct trim removal tools. We're not going to get into that. This here needs to be removed prior, and I would recommend removing it in the video that you're going to see in just a moment of me taking it off. You'll see that I don't, because these top clips were a bit of a bear, so I did not, but I do recommend doing it. So in the trunk, it's a bit of a pain in the trunk. So this piece right here I actually didn't completely remove, because once you have that piece in the front that I just lastly explained, you'll need to take, there's 3 nuts down here, one up there, one here. This will loosen. This just pops out. The trunk will need to you'll need to remove that. There is 2 bolts in the back, one on this side, one on this side. And that whole trunk lid will need to come off, rather. Once you've done that, you'll take a look in here. Once you've done that, there's clips right there and right there. And there's a couple of clips right, let me see if I can get my finger there, right there, and right there. And that whole protective bit needs to come out. Once you've done that, you'll remove this trim right here. Now, to remove this completely would be silly because there's a cable from here to the front seat. Don't need to do that. What you can do is unclip this, and underneath here where that cable goes, there's a place on the inside. I don't know if we can see it from here. Possibly. There it is right there. You can see where that cable's clipped. That can be unclipped. You can then move this entire plastic piece and just set it over here out of the way. with this trunk being gone, you'll have it down in the hole, and it'll just sit nicely out of the way. So, the same goes for this side. It just unclips. The bottom has little levers that sit in, so once you've got the top unclipped on both sides, you'll pull up a little bit and that'll get it out for you. And same holds true. The cable is clipped and you can remove it to get a little more leverage and move it out of the way. Alright, so for the inners, there's some trim here that I was going to take completely off, but I found once I got it down, the inner clips up in here, these last clips are kind of a bear. So it was easier to just bring it down, loosen that nut right there, and then this will come out. So we're going to do that right now. Really important piece is this piece right here. It has to be positioned. Those little tabs can't be on the outside and can't be under. So they can't be like this, because then they won't be in the right spot. You got to get them, and this is kind of tricky, to where they're all lined up like that. And you see that one's not yet. So I'm going to drop the camera and do that real quick. So when you get them lined up all four like that, that's when you want to put the inner lamp in. Otherwise you're going to have issues and the gaps are going to be off. Ask me how I know. So don't forget to pull that one and that plug, and there's two 10mm nuts in there that also hold the taillight. So when you get to the last one, which is right back there, when you get to that one, be careful. Maybe hold this with some blue tape or something, because it's going to loosen and you don't want it to fall out and scratch your car. Once the outers are out, it's a good time to clean up in here. Something I like to do, I just clean it up, like down in here. I'll wax it, clean it. That's where one screw hole is on the inside, so on the side panel, and the other two are right here. So looking at the other side, that would be those two rubber plugs. Pop out. Be careful when you take it out. And the other one, I didn't want to pull this completely out, so I just kind of gently bent it away as I... So, now that we've got everything ready and we've installed it, I didn't want to bore you with those details. We're going to use ESIS and BIMR code. So this video is not about how to use ESIS, how to use BIMR code, but that's what we're going to use to program it right. As you just saw, if you don't do any coding, that's what your lights are going to look like. So I'm going to get right into it, and here we go. Alright, so anytime you're coding, first step you want to do is make a backup of your FA, back up all your CAF files, and make sure all that stuff is there. So when we talk about VO coding, we're talking about basically what are we calling the car? Are we calling it a European car, or are we calling it an American car? Are we calling it a Chinese car? What are we calling it? So what we're going to basically do is when you're VO coding, you're basically saying that this vehicle is now an EU vehicle, a European or German vehicle. And so we're going to VO code the Typschlüssel, and that's the piece that tells the car, hey, you're German, you're a US version, you're a Chinese version. It tells the car what version it is. Now, I've hesitated when I did this because of the simple fact that I was thinking, oh my God, if I do that, it's going to change everything to like European version. I don't want that. I don't want my frequencies on my radio to be changed or anything like that. Well, it doesn't do that. When you change the Typschlüssel to whatever it is for your car, you're going to change it to the Germany version or the European version. And when you do that, it doesn't change anything yet. You're then going to go to your different modules, and the module that controls the lights is the BDC module, which we've talked about. And you're going to right-click on the folder for the BDC module. When you right-click on that folder, it's going to offer to code. You're going to code, not FDL code, but code. And when you click on code, it's going to now code all 4 modules in my case. It's going to code them to European. Now, as soon as I did this, everything was great. Turn signals worked, brake lights worked as they should, all European. I was so happy. There's a glitch. There's a little more in the BDC module than just your headlights and taillights. So I was like, uh-oh. So when you go to look at the errors that the car now has, my car, for instance, had an error that said, hey, you've got the wrong multifunction steering wheel, and you've got the wrong turn signals. You don't have the European version of that. I don't know what's different. I don't think there is any difference, but nonetheless, I now would have to go into ESIS and use my backup and go look at those items and see what they were set at, and then just code one more time, this time FDL code, go into the individual CAF, and FDL code those items back to US. When I'm done with all this, I go back up to my Typschlüssel and I VO code that back to US model. So in case there's an update to the car or whatnot, the only module that would wind up being negatively affected would be the BDC module, but none of the other modules would be affected if they did anything at the BMW shop. So I hope that kind of explains it. Again, this is not intended for those that have never heard of the word ESIS or BIMR code. So with that, I hope it kind of helps you. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here's what it looks like when they work right and when everything is good. So let's look at that. So folks, I hope this video was helpful. I will say for the X3 and the X4, you have to run those 2 wires. You got to do all kinds of things, and it took me days to do this. I almost wanted to put my PayPal on the bottom and say, hey, if you want to donate, because this is going to help some folks out there. If you're going to do this, this video is going to really help you not have to go through some of the pains I had to go through to figure out what needs to be coded. It's sometimes cryptic, as some of you may know. It doesn't say right turn signal, left turn signal, let's make them orange. That's not what it says. And there's several items that have to be coded and programmed and what have you. So, and then knowing where to wire to the body control module is also very important. So it took me some time to do this. I almost thought about it. I told my wife, I said, hey man, I should put my PayPal address on the bottom of this YouTube video, because it was just nutso trying to like lay it all out and figure it out. But nonetheless, I'm not going to do that. But do give me a thumbs up, subscribe, because this was some serious work that's going to hopefully save you from some serious headache. So take care. See you next time.